Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens when you step back, stop chasing, and allow silence to take over in your interactions with a woman? It's a question many men have asked themselves, often during moments of frustration or confusion. The dynamics of relationships are rarely simple, and when you stop talking to her, it creates a shift. One that can feel uncertain, but is also filled with potential for growth and self-discovery. Today, we're diving deep into this intriguing scenario. What actually happens when you decide to pull back and let the conversation fade? How does she react? More importantly, how can you, as a man, use this moment to your advantage? Not to manipulate, but to reclaim your inner strength, self-respect, and clarity. This isn't just about relationships, it's about you. It's about embracing the wisdom of Stoicism to guide you through these experiences. Stoicism teaches us resilience, emotional control, and the art of stepping back to observe without reacting. By applying these principles, you'll learn how to navigate silence with confidence and composure, no matter how uncertain the situation might feel. In this video, we'll uncover the key reactions women often have when the communication stops and how their emotions and actions might evolve. But it doesn't stop there. You'll discover actionable strategies to not only handle these moments, but to grow stronger through them. Becoming the kind of man who doesn't seek validation from anyone but himself. If this resonates with you, like this video, subscribe to the Stoic Golden Rule, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's get started. When you stop talking to a woman, one of the first things you'll notice is her initial shock and confusion. This reaction is completely natural. Imagine this: communication that was once consistent, filled with texts, calls, or plans, suddenly goes silent. This unexpected shift often leaves her questioning what went wrong. She might wonder why you've gone quiet, if she did something wrong, or even whether she misjudged her place in your life. This uncertainty can stir up a range of emotions in her: curiosity, frustration, or even anxiety. People by nature dislike abrupt changes in dynamics, especially when they're not in control. This initial period of shock is where many men feel tempted to step back in, to explain, or to fix the situation. But here's the truth: her confusion is not something for you to resolve. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism becomes your greatest ally. A key teaching of Stoicism is to focus only on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. You cannot control how she feels about your silence, nor should you expend energy trying to manage her emotional reaction. According to Stoic principles, chasing external validation or trying to manipulate how someone else perceives you is a fruitless effort. Instead, your focus should remain on your own balance and clarity. Let's say you've been the one initiating most conversations, always texting first, or planning every meeting. Over time, you may have felt the dynamic was unbalanced, as though you were the one giving more than you were receiving. By choosing to step back, you've disrupted that pattern, and naturally, she's left wondering, why isn't he reaching out anymore? Rather than rushing in to explain or seek reassurance, you allow the silence to exist. This space is powerful. It gives her room to reflect on her own feelings and role in the relationship, and more importantly, it gives you the opportunity to regain your sense of self. By embracing the silence, you're not being indifferent. You're demonstrating self-respect and emotional independence. A Stoic man understands that true strength lies in his ability to stand firm, even in moments of uncertainty. Silence, when used with intention, is not just a pause, it's a statement of self-worth. As the initial shock subsides, she begins to reflect on the relationship. This phase often involves replaying past interactions in her mind, trying to understand what caused the shift. Was it something she said? Did her actions push you away? Or is there something deeper happening that she missed? This period of introspection can lead her to question not just your silence, but also her role in the dynamic. Here's the critical point. While she's reflecting on the relationship, you should be doing the same, but from a different perspective. Her thoughts and emotions are outside your control, but your own reflections are entirely within your grasp. This is the perfect time to apply Stoicism and focus on self-assessment. Ask yourself, did you remain true to your values during the course of this relationship? Were your actions authentic, or were they driven by a need for approval? A Stoic man understands that his worth doesn't come from how much someone else values him, but from his commitment to living according to his principles. Consider this scenario. You've spent weeks or months texting her first, planning every detail, and seeking her attention. Looking back, you might realize that this dynamic felt unbalanced and draining. Maybe you were sacrificing your own needs and boundaries just to keep her attention. If that's the case, now is the time to recalibrate. Self-reflection in Stoicism isn't about regret or self-blame. It's about growth. It's about acknowledging where you might have strayed from your true self and deciding how to realign. This period of silence isn't just a chance for her to evaluate you. It's an opportunity for you to evaluate whether this pursuit aligns with your values and self-respect. When you take this time to reflect deeply, you may uncover patterns of behavior that no longer serve you. Perhaps you've been too focused on seeking validation, or you've been compromising your principles for the sake of maintaining the connection. Now is your chance to shift your focus inward to rebuild your emotional independence and clarity. A Stoic man uses moments like these to strengthen his character. Instead of waiting anxiously for her reaction, focus on yourself. Growth comes not from chasing her attention, but from regaining your own. Once the silence settles in, she may begin testing boundaries. This can take on many forms. A casual, "Hey, how are you?" text that feels out of the blue. A sudden post on social media clearly designed to catch your attention. Or even subtle comments that seem to test whether she still has influence over you. These actions aren't necessarily malicious. They're often subconscious ways of gauging where she stands in your life. This is a pivotal moment. Many men, when faced with these tests, make the mistake of reacting emotionally. They feel a surge of fear of losing her for good, fear that she's moving on, or fear that their silence is backfiring. Out of this fear, they react impulsively, replying to her message too quickly, overanalyzing her social media post, or even reaching out themselves in an attempt to restore the connection. But this reaction often undermines their position, showing a lack of emotional control. This is where Stoicism becomes essential. A Stoic man understands that true strength comes from within, not from external validation. When a woman tests your boundaries, she's looking to see if she can still influence your behavior, if you'll slip back into the dynamic where you are chasing her. But a Stoic man doesn't play into these games. He remains grounded, knowing that he controls his own actions, emotions, and thoughts, not hers. Let's say she sends you a message like, "Hey, haven't heard from you in a while." A typical reaction might be to respond immediately, eager to reestablish the connection. But a Stoic man pauses. He reflects on whether responding aligns with his values and goals. If he chooses to reply, it's calm and composed, not driven by desperation or hope of regaining her approval. Something like, "I'm doing well, thanks for asking, hope you're doing great too," shows respect but maintains emotional independence. Or he might decide not to respond at all, recognizing that engaging in the moment doesn't serve his best interests. Either way, his choice comes from a place of strength, not insecurity. By standing firm and maintaining your boundaries, you send a clear message, not just to her, but to yourself. You demonstrate that your sense of worth and peace of mind are not tied to her actions. This is the essence of Stoicism, the ability to stay steady and unshaken, regardless of external provocations. A woman may test your boundaries, but your response, or lack of one, should always reflect your inner strength. As silence persists, she might start seeking closure. This is one of the most common reactions when someone feels the dynamic has shifted, and they no longer hold the control they once did. It could come in the form of direct questions. "Why did you stop talking to me?" Or, "Did I do something wrong?" Sometimes it's more subtle, like reaching out with nostalgia, saying, "I miss how things used to be." In these moments, many men feel the pull to explain themselves. They think, if I just give her a reason, maybe things will make sense for her. But here's the hard truth. Closure is a deeply personal process. It's not something you owe to anyone else. And often explaining yourself opens the door to old wounds, unresolved emotions, and even a return to the dynamic you worked so hard to step away from. Stoicism offers clarity here. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Seeking closure from someone else is an external event you cannot control. But deciding how much access you give them to your thoughts, emotions, and time is entirely within your power. Imagine this. You were texting back and forth with her for weeks, maybe even went on a few dates, but over time, you felt her energy wasn't matching yours. Something felt off, so you decided to stop engaging. Days pass, and then suddenly she reaches out, asking why. This is where the Stoic approach becomes invaluable. Instead of rushing to provide explanations or justify your silence, reflect on whether the conversation aligns with your values. Does engaging serve your peace of mind, or does it risk pulling you back into a dynamic that felt unbalanced? Sometimes, the most stoic thing you can do is let the silence be the closure. This doesn't mean you're being cold or indifferent. It means you're protecting your well-being. Closure isn't always about words. It's about accepting what has happened, moving forward with clarity, and maintaining your inner peace. By choosing not to engage in every emotional demand, you're sending a powerful message. You prioritize your mental clarity and self-respect over the need to appease others. When she seeks closure, let your guide be this: your peace is your priority. Sometimes, the most empowering thing you can do is simply not respond. Let the unanswered questions be her closure, while you move forward with dignity and strength. When you stop talking to her, emotions will inevitably come into play, not just yours, but hers as well. You may notice a range of reactions from anger to sadness or even relief. Each of these is a natural response to a sudden shift in the relationship dynamic. But here's where most men go wrong. They let her emotions dictate their actions, pulling them into an emotional storm they don't need to weather. Stoicism provides the antidote. The Stoics teach that emotions are fleeting, like the weather, sometimes turbulent, sometimes calm, but always temporary. Her emotional response to your silence isn't something you need to fix. It's hers to process. Your role is to remain steady, grounded in your values and principles, no matter how intense her reactions may seem. Let's break this down. If she reacts with anger, you might receive messages like, "Why are you ignoring me?" or "You're so selfish." The temptation to explain yourself or defend your actions is strong, but a Stoic man recognizes that her anger is her responsibility, not his. Responding defensively or impulsively only fuels the fire. Instead, you maintain your composure, observing her reaction without letting it pull you in. If she reacts with sadness, expressing how much she misses your attention or feels hurt by your silence, you might feel tempted to comfort her. But again, Stoicism reminds us that you cannot control how others feel. Her sadness is valid, but it's not your job to fill the void she's experiencing. By stepping back, you allow her the space to navigate her emotions on her own terms. And then there's the possibility of relief. Perhaps she was already pulling away, and your silence confirms what she wanted but didn't know how to articulate. This might sting, but Stoicism teaches us to embrace reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. If her relief indicates that the connection wasn't mutual, it's a clear sign for you to move on with dignity. At the heart of Stoicism is the idea of control, understanding what is within your power and what isn't. Her emotions fall outside your control, but your response to them doesn't. By choosing to remain calm and composed, you demonstrate emotional resilience and independence. This is your moment to show that your peace of mind isn't swayed by someone else's reactions. Emotions come and go, but your inner calm remains steadfast, a testament to your strength as a Stoic man. Whatever her response may be, anger, sadness, or relief, it's not about what she feels, but how you handle it. That's where your true power lies. When you stop talking to her, something powerful happens. She begins to evaluate your worth. This shift often forces her to reflect on who you are, what you brought to the relationship, and whether she took your presence for granted. But here's the catch. Many men make the mistake of letting this process define how they see themselves. They get caught in a cycle of questions like, does she still value me? Does she miss me? What is she thinking about me now? This is where you need to draw a hard line. Your worth is not tied to her opinions or reactions. As a Stoic, you know that true self-worth is intrinsic. It comes from your character, your principles, and your actions, not from how others perceive you. When you stop chasing her, it's not an act of manipulation. It's a declaration that your value isn't dependent on her validation. Think about it. When you pull back, she's forced to consider the void your absence creates. Maybe she reflects on how steady you were, how calm and composed you remained even in difficult moments. She may start to miss the sense of security and confidence you exuded. But whether she comes to appreciate you or not is irrelevant. What matters is that you remain grounded in your own worth, independent of her conclusions. Consider this scenario. You stop texting her, and at first, there's silence. She might be thinking about you, but instead of anxiously waiting for her response, you take this time to focus on yourself. You reflect on your actions in the relationship. Did you compromise your values? Did you put her needs above your own to an unhealthy degree? Were you seeking her approval more than living true to your principles? Stoicism teaches that your worth isn't something that can be given or taken away by someone else. It's rooted in how well you live by your values and how consistently you act in alignment with them. When you stop chasing her, you're not asking for her to reevaluate you. You're giving yourself the space to reaffirm your own value. This mindset is magnetic. Confidence that stems from within, not from external validation, is deeply attractive. It shows that you're a man who knows his worth, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Whether she decides you're worth chasing back or not becomes secondary because you've already defined your worth for yourself. That's the kind of self-assuredness a Stoic man carries, and it's the foundation for lasting strength and dignity. After some time, she might reach out to you. It could be a simple, casual message like, "Hey, how are you?" Or something more direct. "I've been thinking about you lately." This moment can feel like a turning point, but it's also where many men stumble. The excitement of her message can trigger old patterns, responding too quickly, reigniting the dynamic of chasing, or falling back into the same behaviors that disrupted the balance in the first place. This is where Stoicism offers clarity. A Stoic man doesn't act on impulse. He doesn't allow emotions to dictate his response. Instead, he approaches situations with reason and purpose. When she reaches out, your first step isn't to reply immediately. It's to pause, reflect, and ask yourself, why is she reaching out? And how do I want to respond in a way that aligns with my values? Let's say she sends you a text like, "Hey, it's been a while. How have you been?" The old version of you might have jumped at the opportunity, pouring your feelings into a long reply or trying to pick up where things left off. But a Stoic man takes a different approach. He understands that his response should come from a place of strength, not a need for validation. You might choose to reply with something short and composed, like, "I'm doing well, thanks for asking. Hope you're doing great too." This shows respect, but avoids any indication of desperation. Or, you might decide not to respond at all, recognizing that engaging with her doesn't serve your best interests in that moment. Either choice is valid, as long as it's rooted in intentionality and self-respect. When she reaches out, she's often testing the waters, seeing if she still has the same pull over you. By maintaining your composure and acting with purpose, you send a powerful message. I'm not dependent on your attention for my peace of mind. This isn't about playing games, it's about standing firm in who you are. A Stoic man doesn't seek external validation. Whether she's reaching out of curiosity, nostalgia, or genuine interest, it doesn't dictate his worth or his actions. He responds or chooses not to respond from a place of calm self-assurance. This balance of respect for her and respect for yourself is what sets you apart and leaves a lasting impression. By staying true to your principles, you demonstrate the strength and clarity that come from living in alignment with your values. It's not about ignoring her or rekindling the connection. It's about ensuring your actions reflect the man you've chosen to be. Once you've stopped chasing her and created space for reflection, you enter the most important phase, moving forward. This isn't just about leaving her behind. It's about reclaiming your power and focusing on what truly matters, your own growth, values, and peace of mind. At first, this shift can feel unsettling. You might find yourself wondering, what's next? Will she notice? Will she care? These questions are natural, but they're also distractions. The truth is, what she does next isn't the point. The real transformation begins with you. Stoicism teaches that happiness and fulfillment don't come from external sources. whether that's her attention, her validation, or even her return. Instead, they come from your inner peace and alignment with your values. When you stop chasing, you're freeing yourself from the exhausting cycle of seeking approval and placing your self-worth in someone else's hands. Now is the time to redirect your energy inward. Focus on building your emotional strength and rediscovering what makes you feel fulfilled as an individual. Maybe that means diving into a hobby you've neglected, setting personal goals, or simply spending time reflecting on the kind of man you want to be. This isn't about becoming better for her or anyone else. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, for yourself. And what about her? Maybe she'll notice the shift. Maybe she'll reach out, or maybe she won't. The beauty of moving forward is that her actions no longer define your sense of worth. Whether she reacts or not becomes secondary, because you've already reclaimed your sense of peace and direction. Imagine this. After days or weeks of silence, you realize you're no longer anxiously checking your phone or overthinking every interaction. Instead, you feel lighter, more focused on your own life. This is the essence of Stoicism, living in the present, unburdened by external expectations or what-ifs. By letting go of attachment to outcomes, you're not giving up on relationships or connections. You're simply prioritizing your well-being and living in alignment with your principles. Whether she comes back or not doesn't matter, because your strength and self-respect are rooted in something much deeper: your ability to navigate life with clarity and confidence. This phase of moving forward isn't just about recovering from silence. It's about building the foundation for a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. A Stoic man embraces this opportunity, knowing that true power lies in self-mastery, not in controlling others. As we wrap up today's discussion, let's reflect on the deeper lesson at hand. What truly happens when you stop talking to a woman? The reactions can vary: shock, confusion, self-reflection, or even attempts to test boundaries. Yet the most significant shift isn't in her, it's in you. It's about how you choose to handle the silence, the uncertainty, and the emotional turbulence that comes with stepping back. Stoicism teaches us that life's challenges, including the dynamics of relationships, are opportunities for growth. When you stop chasing, you're not giving up. You're letting go of the need to control someone else's actions or emotions. This isn't an act of manipulation, it's an act of self-respect. You're prioritizing your inner peace, valuing your principles, and reclaiming your emotional independence. The power of this approach lies in its simplicity. By focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses, you free yourself from the weight of external validation. You no longer rely on her attention to feel whole, nor do you let her reactions dictate your worth. Instead, you stand firm in the knowledge that your value comes from within. This journey isn't always easy. There will be moments of doubt, temptation, and emotional pull. But each time you choose to remain grounded, composed, and true to your values, you grow stronger. You demonstrate to yourself and to those around you that your strength isn't swayed by external forces. That's the essence of what it means to live the Stoic way. So whether she notices your silence, reflects on your worth, or even reaches out again, remember this: the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. By mastering your emotions and maintaining your inner calm, you set the foundation for dignity, self-respect, and genuine connection in all areas of your life. If today's insights resonated with you, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to the Stoic Golden Rule, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue to bring you meaningful discussions and practical wisdom. Stay strong, embrace the Stoic way, and until next time, keep fostering your inner strength.